What are some of the common pitfalls you've seen in your career when businesses don't get involved so early in the process?
So if automation are not involved early enough in the design stage, then, quite often we find there's a lack of understanding around requirements that need to be placed on the systems. The obvious result of that is the systems don't do what they need to do. I think if automation and the stakeholders and users are not talking, then there can be misaligned expectations and assumptions can be made, which turn out to be incorrect. And the end result is that you have systems that don't have all the functionality that you need them to have. And ultimately the stakeholders are disappointed with the implementation.
So communication
is key.
Yeah.
Communication is key. Opening those dialogues as early as possible, and continuity as well. If you can have continuity of key resources through the project, then that really helps to embed and establish the knowledge within the project teams. And ideally, those resources will then follow the project through to business as usual and provide guidance and coaching and support for the asset going forward as well.
One topic I also wanted to touch on was standardization of design of systems within automation. I know, for example, Novo Nordisk, they have a principle where they use the same systems globally around how they operate on their sites.
Yep.
So I guess what are some of the key factors to consider around standardization of systems when you're building a new facility?
So if you have systems that are common and the requirements, functionality that needs to be placed on those systems are aligned so that they're standardized enough, then that means that you can create software libraries that can be reused. The obvious benefits of that are you're only creating, configuring the system and those library objects once and reusing them, instantiating them multiple times. So that saves on engineering resource. Within the life science industry, validation is obviously an important factor. So it means that those library objects, you only need to validate them once as well. Now, validation time, can really add cost and resource into delivery of a new manufacturing asset. So being able to reuse as much of that software as possible in its validated state, obviously you need to have appropriate controls in place to redeploy and instantiate that. But provided you do, then you can reuse that software, over and over again. And that saves you engineering and professional time in future to re-execute that work, which is obviously money, money and time. So obviously it will shrink the time to beneficial use, but also should be cost effective as well.